All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Thursday afternoon, November 19th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Let's get a quick sound check just to begin. Make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. There we go. 2:30 already. Chuck is asking, time's flying when you're making money, Chuck, right? And not just yourself, but I saw Lewis and Bill and Kath and Mike and all of us picking up, a lot of profits heading into this afternoon. We did really well in the morning, of course, as well. So let's talk about that. We do have class on the horizon coming up. So for all of us in social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, welcome on back. But we're going to try and go through this rather quick. We want to send out the links for class coming out very shortly. I want to, finish up my prep just for the afternoon class. We'll be talking about level 3. So for all of us here, at least across the board, more so than anything on the TradeStation matrix, this is what we nickname level 3. This gives us all of the ECN data. And with that, we'll be talking about the NASDAQ book viewer, the total view, otherwise known as. So there's a lot to discuss. So we'll jump right to it. The markets are pushing up higher, which you love to see, right? We ended up seeing a bit of a drop off heading into yesterday. So it's great to see the markets make a nice small bounce back. And at least for right now, the SPY, the S&P ETF at the high of the day right now. PLTR, I just got out of a trade on. It was more of like a grinder. This one took me a little bit longer than how I would want it to be for me to lock in a profit. So I was playing around here. I went scratch. I took a 3-cent loss on a short from 1848. And then once it popped back over 1850, I reversed my position. Actually, I was in from 1852. So from there, ended up squeezing up. I closed out at 1871. Take the money and run. For the afternoon, I mean, it's still, like I said, grinding on up towards the high of the day. Very strong stock, as we know from the last 2 weeks, breaking all-time highs right before they posted earnings. Then once they did, they just took off. So for right now, PLTR, I mean, I don't mind coming back to this just at the very end. But what we'll do even here is just go right from top to bottom right away. For any of the other bigger movers, we'll look to recap those as we go through. TDAC, I think it's warrants. Warrants really at the top of the gainers list of late. GIK.W. Nope. Naked again. I clicked on this yesterday. It was extremely cheap. Still is very cheap, but made a big move up today from 16 cents. I think where we were watching this stock yesterday at this time, it was at 13. So for what it's worth, it's been pushing up very nicely back-to-back days. Given the range you could see on the daily chart, I mean, that's not really like a $45 stock back in 2019 or so, but nonetheless, this stock likely has been split over and over and over. So, perhaps at some point we'll see this continue to move up. I mean, maybe even later on this afternoon, if not this afternoon, hopefully tomorrow. Just keep it on your side list. If you trade 5,000, 10,000 shares, you can make some good money on this. Otherwise, though, I'd rather focus on stocks that are over a buck. Not this though. FIIW just looks dead. HPR. This one looks very much alive. This one looks very much alive here. Pushing up very nicely from at least the high of the day, roughly around what is that, 1140-ish, 1135 here maybe? Yep, 1140 high of the day. Once it popped that, just took off. So right now, I don't mind putting this on our watch list, certainly. Trading 6 million shares total across the day. A lot of that volume coming in just recently across the last hour. Nonetheless, though, just be wary of the order book. We're going to talk about this in class later on, right? With that in mind, you could see a bit of a spread. The order book is very light on both sides, very thin, small orders spaced out. So we would categorize this more as a level 5, more as a level 5 stock, level 4 to 5 stock in terms of volatility. Definitely, though, for right now, I mean, I'll put this on the main list, though, here. This is already pushed up. Seems like it can keep going. This Feng trade was definitely more of a bust, and this one looked great as far as pre-market. It wasn't really trending that well going into the open, but it was up big off of news. You were hopeful to see some sort of bounce or some sort of pop. So once the market opened up, it tanked, but from there, wasn't really the greatest bounce. We had much better opportunities aside from this Feng trade. So unfortunately, for as good as it looked, for as much volume as this stock traded in pre-market, it was definitely a bust. Ooh, this FUV trade holding up near the highs of the day. Now, I will say this, folks, right away for all of us across the board. We have a lot of stocks that are up, that are at the highs, that are near the highs, that ended up making big moves just earlier. So I'm going to try and cut this list down if need be. So FUV definitely will be one of many, I think, that will make our list just for that reason alone. AYRO, we are familiar with this stock too. I believe this is an EV stock if I'm not related. They're in the EV business otherwise. Making a push back up towards 6. It failed to even test 6 just earlier, but 27,000 share order on the ask there. There's actually a 49,000 share order right now at 595. Most of that volume from the NASDAQ. You could see that actually from level 2. All right, so if there's any purpose to read level 2, it would just be to know what order is routed through what ECN if you want to get specific with it. But you could see there at 595, most of that order is through the NASDAQ, and then from there, like the ARCA book perhaps, starting to get filled. All right, but either way, this AYRO definitely as well. We're just going to put on our list. Looking good. This is definitely more of a level 1 to 2 trade. You know, we were saying HPR level 4 to 5. This is more level 1 to 2. This would be up the alley of a student that's just enrolling into CTU. Even as a trial member, if you're looking to get your feet wet, you know, this would be the type of stock to do it. And I don't say that just based on like the trend, the high of the day. I'm just saying based on the liquidity here alone. It's easier to identify the levels, and perhaps from there it will be better to react to. A bunch of crap here. Otherwise, we're gonna skip. I'll play into it. I'll look at APVO. I just want to take a look. We're not going to put this on our list, but yeah, this is as dead as it was just before when we were watching this actually in the morning class. So just we're familiar with this trade back from the run that it had back in the beginning of November, from like 5 to 60 plus, right? So for as much as it pumped up, it dumped back down, and then from here, I guess news came out, popped up in post market yesterday. Speaking of pops and like whatever yesterday, oh my goodness, this court trade, I didn't even check the news on this. I mean, again, there was so much out there earlier this morning. I didn't even have a chance to look at the news on this court stock. So we ended up actually seeing a lot of activity on this, more so going into the end of the day yesterday. And then from there, just out of nowhere, like in the post market, just big pop. You could see before that the pop, and then it dropped. It got halted on the way down. So usually when that happens, just you expect bad news to come out, or just at least from there a gap down. Yesterday afternoon, so the news that came out, at least I'll copy and paste across the board. This is like a funky looking chart. So it looks like a patent trial, more or less. Just going to show that for social media first. There we go. A lot of words I can't pronounce, right? So at least in this lightning round edition of the afternoon meeting, we're going to at least just skip over those fancy words. For right now, at least, you can see the news that came out on court. Just as of right now, just very flat. So perhaps to keep it on your radar, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week at some point. Blink, no brainer, right? I mean, just we've been following this stock the whole week, really from Monday to today. It's been a nice ride, honestly. We were talking about this in class earlier. Also, we briefly went over this, just saying for as much as this was moving up, and we were saying that when it was at 18. I mean, so loosely, we were saying for as much as it goes up here steadily, it's going to come back down. It's going to pull back. We'll see profit taking. So, hey, it continued to push up all the way up to 1880, and then it made that pullback. So we knew it was coming. I was just pointing out going into the late morning, early afternoon, for as big of a move up as you had on this, you knew it was going to come back down. With that said, though, very strong heading into the close. So Blink definitely going to put on our list right near the top. Blink, AYRO, 2 different EV stocks that are at least on our list so far. FUV, double check on that as well. I have no idea, but I feel like FUV could be related. Let me know. Mdgs, unfortunately, I have to say, out of all of the busts, all of the stocks that we thought could have done well in the morning that didn't, this had to have been the biggest bust. So as soon as the market opened up, we ended up seeing this consolidate. But once it popped up towards 3, it failed to test the iceberg. From there, came back down. Once this snapped down lower, that was it. So you could see it ended up making that little mini move up. I think one of our students, Cliff, called it out. I said right away once he had made the call out, it was on his part a good call. But I had to say right away, well, we see this happen all the time. Pump, dump, and just weakens out. You'll see a little mini move up. So it's good for like 15, 20 cents. We've seen it happen all the time here. Wow, Billy, geez, BILI. Looking up at my whiteboard here, my whiteboard earnings calendar, and I should say, no surprise, I typed this to us here inside the trading room yesterday. BILI. I didn't focus on this as much this morning, so it slipped past me here. But Billy off of good earnings, we ended up seeing them really just take off right away from 50 all the way up towards obviously now 59.04 high. So pretty expensive. It's breaking new highs right now. Is it all-time highs? That's the question that I want to answer here. So looks like it. Wow, we've been following this Billy stock really. I don't know if it's directly off like its IPO, but really dating back to late 18, early 19 here. We've had our eye on this for a number of years at this point. So very interesting now to see this stock just break the all-time highs off earnings today. We ended up missing this, I guess, from this morning, but hopefully there's more to come. I mean, all-time highs, no historical ceiling to work with. So much like that HPR trade, definitely more of a level 4 or 5 stock based on the liquidity, but Billy looking definitely good going into the afternoon. We had a crazy one on our list yesterday. Why? Maybe I jumped back to that just to recap that one, but we ended up doing pretty good on that trade at least. It pushed up. We took a short right off near the top, and then it slammed back down. XXII here. This one, level 1 stock. You could see a nice slow push, up to 150. Great setup, visually appealing level, shows 150 is very strong. So should it pop 150, you would hope to see a nice, pretty run up from there. I feel like that one's like almost too slow. Look at the SPY ripping here the last, like 10 minutes? Really, since the afternoon meeting started. SPY's up a full point right now. All right, so WWR, familiar name, right? So we've had our eye on this week as well. One of a few, like this, CBAT, Pola. We'll check in with all those pretty much, as we go through. For right now, WWR, I don't mind just putting on our list for right now. Like I'd said, there's a few stocks that have recently made afternoon moves or are right near the highs right now that seem to be just good enough to put on our list. CBAT we'll check in with. Ended up making the pop more after the market opened, and then more so here, the small little push up. Not as keen right there, just it ended up popping pretty nicely, so I feel like this one looks pretty weak here. If it ends up making the blast over 8, I feel like that could be pretty interesting. It's like 30 cents away, so perhaps you can call this support, maybe set a tight stop even here right now. I want to go through some of the others though first. I want to see if there's anything looking better. So you can see here, Sun W. This didn't pop right away at the market open. It ended up grinding on up throughout the afternoon. I ended up jumping in this trade from 430 it was, and then I got out at 444. Pushed up much higher. I left a lot of money obviously on the table. I'm actually realizing how much money I left right now. Pushed all the way up towards the high of 470. Damn. Wow. Okay. So you could see, yeah, I ended up I just got out to take the money and run under 450. Once it broke over 450, you could see it was a clean pop. A lot of buying came in once it did break that iceberg at 450. You could see the big volume spike here. Nonetheless, though, it's back over 450. I like the way this looks for right now. Should it remain over 450? So in the meantime, I'll slip this on our list too. And then finally, what was the other one? Pola. While we're at it, we're just going to look at them. Yeah, Pola. 455 the top, or 460 rather, I should say. Just about. That seems to be pretty strong. I like, as of right now, WWR and Sun W out of all of those stocks that kind of move in tandem together. Solo EV stock. Monster today, ended up pushing up right away. A small consolidation shortly after the open, but aside from that, took off. Ended up holding resistance pretty nicely, roughly around 865. From there, recently broke higher, and yeah, this looks still pretty interesting to me. So, you got to save room for stocks like Blink, stocks like Solo, stocks like, we were just talking about WWR and Sun W. So we'll go over to the losers list here in just a moment. There's my YY trade, actually. How about that? We had this on our list yesterday. I forgot the news. I'm not going to go back at this point, but this got smoked going into the afternoon. I ended up jumping in on a really tiny position. So I jumped in on a couple hundred shares. It was in right at 82. I had like a really small pop to deal with, but once it slammed back under 82, it made for a fast drop. Left a lot of money there on the table too. I took $3, but dropped down much lower. Right now, obviously not doing a whole lot. Tiger, TIGR, this one was looking pretty strong, still holding up pretty nicely. This reminds me of JMIA. Both had similar characteristics as an IPO back like a year, 2 years ago, maybe. Ended up both like, running up, then tanking. You could see JMIA here. right down, right? So, even right now, as we look at Jumia, however, again, I say you pronounce it, it's at the highs. This has just been grinding on up all throughout the day. So how could we not put this on our list at this point? JMIA, and to go back on TIGR. So I just wanted to compare the two, right? We look back on TIGR as an IPO back in what was it, like 18 or 19? Popped right out of the gate. Incredible range on the daily chart for both of them. So you hope to see short squeezes like this. We've had them in the past back in the summer here in July, and obviously now. So for what it's worth, both look really good. It's not to say they move it identically the same. I'm just showing similar patterns across the daily chart for two stocks. All right, so let's hop over to the losers list now. Enough of the gainers list. At the same time, though, I should say, for as much as the market's skyrocketing, you'd assume for there to be more on the gainer side. I do want to look at the losers list here. DNK, what makes the percent gainers list one day? We know the rest. So down big. GoPro down 14% almost. Yeah, look at this. This one looks pretty good as a short. I don't know the news on GoPro. Again, we got class coming up, so I'm going to do kind of a speedy round here. But yeah, looking really good on the way down. GPR. Jeez, my spelling is so bad. GPRO. Okay. All right. Yeah, nice order on the ask. Let's hope that holds. You might see some short covering should a bigger order on the ask get filled here. Otherwise, though, I would assume for support to be roughly around like 875 or 675 here. If not, I was going to say 680, but 14,000 share, 14,000 share order here. Yeah. All right. Well, we go through the losers list rather quick. I wanted to give this a quick look though. Otherwise, so hey, no other familiar names on the losers end here. I mean, a lot of stocks that are shortable. ZTO. No. Geez. Look at that trend or lack thereof. AVYA. It's at the low of the day. Spreads are tight. Trading about 5,000 shares per minute. A little patchy. But some volume coming in of late here, more so than anything. So, you know what? I don't mind it. This AVYA. I'll put this at the bottom of our list so we don't get our tongues tied here between AVYA. I just wrote it incorrectly on my notepad. Between AVYA and the AYRO. I'll tell you, I'll personally mix that up. All right, folks, if there's anything else that you would want me to look at, anything else that's popping, dropping, left, right, up, or down 10% or more, I joke around when I say that, but let me know. Oh, you know what's funny? I was private messaging one of our students earlier today. I just saw his name blink, so I just read his message. I forgot that I was looking at this stock space earlier. Just give it a quick look. Ran very nicely going into the early afternoon, but kind of softened up a bit. AYRO pop. Yeah, there we go. Great call from Norman. That was just a few minutes ago. From Victor here in the chat board inside the trading room, rather. Check this symbol OPK. Well, I'll tell you right away, Victor. I'm a fan of OPK. So let's take a look. Yeah, not a whole lot going on here, Victor. As far as a day trade, right? As far as a day trade here with OPK, their earnings, if I'm not mistaken, were back a week or two ago. I thought maybe 3 weeks ago at this point. Nonetheless, though, off of like momentum or more volume or activity, we love trading OPK here. It's definitely like a safer stock, more of like a level 1 to 2 trade in terms of volatility. You can learn more about that inside our phase 1 stock course, meaning basically the spreads are tight, very liquid, order book, which I like. Not a whole lot going on here, though. From one of us on YouTube here really quickly, is there any news because of this lift on the SPY? So I'm going to take a quick look. I don't mind doing that here. All right, so what I have, let's see. A bunch of politics stuff, right? So more or less, I think what I'm seeing here is that, and I don't know if this moved the mark. I'm just reading what Benzinga Pro is giving me. Chuck Schumer says McConnell agrees to resume COVID-19 relief talks. That's pretty much all I have. That's all that I see here. That's at 246. So that came in pretty recently, of course. So that's not something that made the market just pop right now. It's been a gradual move up across the day. So Maybe it's just general market recovery from yesterday. Maybe it's just, more, buying coming in. Either way. One of us on YouTube asking about Boeing, BA. Pretty expensive. Nice push. Nice little pop here. That's good to see. Otherwise, though, just really expensive. We wouldn't look to day trade a stock like this. You could trade it on a smaller position size, but with as much as we have on our list already, I would much rather trade a stock like Blink should it make a new pop. Obviously, we were talking about the AYRO. So that's where we have to factor in price and just what's worth our time more than some of the others. That's all. If you do options on Boeing, I mean, it seems pretty active heading into the afternoon. All right, folks, I think aside from that, I mean, I do want to check Benzinga Pro, but we have class coming up. So coming up right at 3:05 Eastern time as I'm looking at Benzinga Pro here. We are finishing up the Phase 1 stock course, Phase 1 Lesson 4. Again, we'll be talking all about Level 3, the program. Level 3, otherwise known as the ECN book, the order book. So we'll be talking about and using both the TradeStation Matrix, the NASDAQ book viewer, and everything that you would need to know with both. All right. I do not really have pardon me. I don't really have a whole lot on the Benzinga Pro right now. AYRO, we have HPR. Got a halt here on FTSI. I don't know what's going on there. Trading 86,000 shares. This might be news related. GameStop new high of the day just before. Saw that from Benzinga Pro. A little push up 8+%. More of an afternoon push. I like it. Made a high of 1275, had pulled back down. The volume had waned off quite a bit, though. So, you happen to see some selling coming in. So we'll need to see more buying at this point, right? So we would need to see this make a break likely over that, 1270, 1275 mark. But I don't mind slipping this on our list here at the end, too. Now, at this point, let's do a quick tally because, like I'd said, if need be, I would need to cut this list down. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. All right, so one more than what I would call a full house on our list heading into the afternoon. So really, there's a lot to work with, folks. So for any one of us that's not joining us in class later on today in the next 5 or 10 minutes here, 10 or so minutes rather, please start and stick with this list. This will give you the best opportunity of stocks to follow heading into the close. Aside from that, if there's anything else around 3:15, 3:30 Eastern time, I know that Fausto will be back on the mic heading into the afternoon. I know that Rich will be back in the trading room sharing his screen, providing call-outs, commentary heading into the close. All right, folks. So for all of us on social media, as always, make sure that you like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. Aside from that, feel more than free to join us Monday to Friday right here in the Cyber Group Trading Room. Just follow the banner there below. All right. So for class coming up, folks, I'm going to copy and paste the link very shortly. Just do it in the chat board. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.